This is just in case of American Newscape, joining our friend and lifestyle luminary Joyce Rockwood, sharing progressive thoughts and suggestions on the simple fact that smoothies are not created equal and a healthier way to start your day. Greetings, Joyce. Welcome back to American Newscape.
It's always a pleasure to be back.
As Joyce turns on her microphone.
I thought this thing was on. Didn't we test this thing before we started?
Well, maybe. Okay, Joyce, you're here today to enlighten us that more and more people are incorporating smoothies into their diet to improve digestive health, but some still experience stomach upset and bloating with these plant-based options. Can you touch on some of those pitfalls?
Of course I can.
Good.
My passion is my profession, and it is my absolute joy to teach you how to properly nourish yourself so that you don't go bananas, right? We talk about that all the time. And, the truth is sometimes just, choosing plant-based options is not the end all be all. The truth is it does come down to, not only what you eat, but the combinations of the foods that you're eating that makes the biggest difference in how your body is digesting your food. So I'm really excited to share some tips with you today so that you can avoid the most common pitfalls that I see almost everyone making. I was just speaking with someone the other day, and two ladies, as a matter of fact, and they were like, "We feel pregnant." And I was like, well, you're young enough to be pregnant and you're not young enough to be pregnant, no offense, but let's talk about what's going on. And so sometimes it's the combination. So, mixing too many different food groups together that won't combine favorably in the stomach creates a lot of dissonance, a lot of digestive malaise, a lot of gas, fermentation, all this bloating, all this kind of like blah feeling. It's like it makes you feel like you got that puffiness going on. And when that belly starts to puff up, it immediately goes to your brain. You can't think straight. You also just start to feel a little depressed is a heavy word, but sometimes if this is going on on a regular basis, you can start to feel depressed. You can start to feel sad or overwhelmed or uninspired. You lack motivation. You feel like you just don't have the ability to get up and go. Sometimes people procrastinate a lot when their gut is not in alignment, right? Because your gut is your center, your epicenter for all of your intuition, and all of your brain function is also connected directly to how clean or how encumbered your gut is. So if you're eating a lot of different food groups together, you will feel like you have all this gas and bloating going on. So the best meals are, of course, going to be the ones that are what we would call mono diet. But nobody in the world is going to eat like that. The only people really eating a mono diet are, gorillas and monkeys in the wild. They're grabbing bananas and eating a bunch of those. Then they're moving onward and maybe they're eating some mangoes. It's like whatever they're finding that's ripe in the jungle.
Now, Joyce, Joyce, can I interject? Before my malaise has my brain drop this thought, you talk about those proper choices, and people need to be cognizant of if your subconscious is making you dread drinking that morning smoothie. Your subconscious may know something that you don't, and I think that's the time that you need to take a serious look at what you're putting in that smoothie, because your body and your subconscious will help subtly defend from things that are damaging you.
Yeah, some people are not even drinking smoothies and they might be thinking like, you're going to make me drink that green slop. But we're going to talk about how to make smoothies that are super yummy that your eyes are going to be spinning. Your head's going to be spinning. You're going to be like, wow, this is delicious. And it's going to be easy to overcome some of the food cravings that you might be having now for things like, scrambled eggs and toast and jam and things like that. Perfect. But that's a whole nother podcast. Okay. So, the most ideal approach, if you're not going to eat just one thing at a time, which I don't even do that once in a while, but, the most ideal approach is to choose foods that are at least very similar that will favorably combine in the stomach, because this is going to reduce all of that, heavy incident of dealing with the gas and the bloating, the cramps. I was working on a gentleman the other day. He came from massage, and in the middle of the massage, he's like, oh, I started getting this sharp pain in his gut. And, the truth of the matter is that there was a lot of distension going on there. And so there's a lot of gas, a lot of accumulation in the body. Sometimes we start pushing on the meridians, things start to move around. So let's jump into some of the mistakes. All right. So, mistake number one that I see people make almost all the time, which is very problematic, is they'll make a smoothie that's very fruit centric and they start mixing things in like nut milks. So, like almond milk, even like soy milk, oat milk, those things are not going to favorably combine with fruit. They create a lot of glue, a lot of residual glue in the body. That's going to be a breeding ground for bacteria and fungus, and all that gas and bloating is of course part of the equation. So what can you choose instead? Choose an avocado. You can mix an avocado in with your fruit. That mixes very favorably. You can choose coconut milk. That's going to mix very favorably with your fruit. And those would be some nice options that are creamy, that are going to give you a little bit of extra fluid or liquid in there. And the other thing I want to say that a lot of people do is they put in a lot of liquid with their smoothies. You don't really need to do that. Fruit is extremely water containing. So if you put the most water containing fruit into the blender very much so first, so it's closest to the blade, when you turn it on, it's going to mix that quickly and turn that into a lot of liquid so that whatever's denser on top of it will be pulled in, right? So like bananas obviously are not the most water containing compared to say pears, strawberries, and blueberries. So I would put those things in first and then put the bananas on top of it, and then they'll pull in and mix easily. And then you won't need to worry about putting in a lot of liquid. And the reason I say to avoid putting in a lot of liquid with your smoothies is simply because eating and drinking are two separate things. And if you're putting a lot of liquid in with the other foods, that can start to also make you feel really gassy and bloated because it can start to dilute the digestive enzymes you secrete in your mouth to break down your food. All right, so that's mistake number one, mixing fruit with nut milks. Avoid that. Mistake number two I see people making a lot, very often, is mixing nut butters in with their fruit-centric smoothies. Very problematic, very gassy, going to create a lot of bloating, going to create a lot of cramps in the belly, create a lot of that brain fog. This also can relate to problems with our skin, allergic responses, and not sleeping well. And then the repercussions go down the line. So instead of using nut butters, especially peanut butter, like I don't really believe peanut butter is intended for human consumption at any time. Raw almond butter is a cleaner option. Raw cashew butter, any other kind of raw butter. Peanuts are very tricky in the body because in the raw state, they're not digestible. And when they're roasted, they're very rancid. So I would just leave the nut butters out of any kind of fruit-centric smoothie. And I say fruit-centric because, sometimes people are making blended salads that are vegetable-based. And if you're doing that, then the nut butters would be fine in there. But instead of nut butter, you could certainly use a coconut meat. You can buy that frozen in health food stores these days. It's so delicious. It comes from the young Thai coconuts. The inside has this scoopable white meat that's kind of like, the best way to describe the texture of this is like the white part of a hard-boiled egg, literally. And so you could use coconut meat or you can use coconut butter. I've got my empty jar of it here. That's how much I love it. It's empty. Nutiva is one of the brands that makes coconut butter. This is called Coconut Mana, and this is the inside of the coconut. And they turn it into a puree, and it's about the thickness of a nut butter. And it tastes like the inside of a cannoli, very naturally sweet. There's nothing else in here but the coconut meat that's just blended, and you can use that right in your smoothie, like a teaspoon or a tablespoon. It'll add some body to the smoothie. It adds a really delicious coconut flavor. And it's also a healthy fat, so it's good for brain function. That's mistake number two.
Can I ask, what about coconut oil? When I was religiously making my smoothies and making every mistake known to mankind, what I was putting in a teaspoon of coconut oil.
Yeah.
That was food grade.
You could do that.
Okay.
Yes.
It was the only mistake I wasn't.
That's another option.
Okay.
No, yeah, you were doing fine. That's another option that works really well. It's going to create a little bit more body. It's also going to give you the healthy fats. Sometimes people just want something that's a little bit thicker, that's going to make the smoothie a little bit creamier. So if that's the case, then I would go with the coconut meat, the coconut butter, or an avocado, but the coconut oil is a very fair addition.
Good.
All right. Mistake numero tres. We're going on here with how people are eating their smoothie, not so much the ingredients. So the problem I see a lot of times is people make this big smoothie and then they just start gulping it like it's, water.
Yes.
And you've got digestive enzymes that when you chew, they start to secrete in the mouth to break down our food. Even though a smoothie is really pulverized fiber and it's probably broken down more than you would ever chew it, which is a good thing, we still need to activate the digestive enzymes in the mouth. So that's important. So I would say put some smoothie action in your mouth,
Wow.
if it's with a straw or if you're drinking it, either way, slosh it around 3 times, like, and then swallow.
Or gargle.
Don't gargle your smoothie. Well, you could, but it's probably not going to get, the trick done that we're trying to do here with activating the digestive enzymes. Now, the reason I say to do that, by the way, is to avoid bloating. Because if you guzzle a smoothie and you've put in 2 apples and a handful of berries and a kiwi and a banana, that's a lot of fruit. And if it just drops into the stomach without it really getting the pre-digestive action happening with those enzymes, you start to feel really bloated. You ever have a smoothie and all of a sudden you're like, whoa.
Well, yeah, because I put superfoods in them and serrano chilies and avocados, and they were just nasty. But I drank them. And now I learned I put too much water in them, so...
all of it.
Yeah, exactly. Okay.
All right, so that's mistake number 3. Don't just swallow your smoothie. You want to slosh it. Slosh your smoothie. And then number 4, mistake number 4, I would say is, if you're making a smoothie, drink that, but really you're eating it. I should say eat that because you're chewing it in a way, right?
Right.
Finish that and then wait an hour to eat a meal. And I say that because if you've got a lot of fruit in the smoothie, it's not going to mix well and combine well with other types of food groups. And a lot of times I'll see people eating their smoothie and eating a sandwich at the same time. And then they want to put me on speed dial for a while. They're so bloated and feel so pregnant and can't think straight. So they feel like they're in a food coma.
Should I avoid water for that first hour too?
Yeah, water will dilute the digestive enzymes in the mouth. So the idea here is that you're eating something, the smoothie, which has a lot of water containing hydration in it is on its own, right? Fruit has a lot of water in it. So you shouldn't need to drink a lot of water at the same time. So try to avoid drinking your smoothie, eating your smoothie while you're eating eating a meal where you're actually chewing. That can become problematic.
Okay.
I have one other tip for you if you're making smoothies at home, and I'd love to know what your favorite recipes are. I would also say ASMR, I can hear the crinkling. This is a great way to jazz up your smoothies with some cacao powder, right? So you can just take bananas when they're ripe and break them apart, peel the bananas, break them apart into big chunks, put them in a Tupperware and put them in the freezer, and put those in a blender with some blueberries and a little bit of this cacao powder, maybe a tiny pinch of pink salt to, get some more minerals in your body. You don't need a lot. And if you need any sugar at all, you shouldn't, but maybe a dash of maple syrup, maybe a dash of vanilla extract, and that's it. And then you could add in some of the cacao powder and blend that up. It'll be like banana chocolate smoothie pudding in the morning. It's kind of like a vegan ice cream because those bananas, when they're frozen and you whip them up in the Vitamix, they stay really chilled and it'll be like a thick consistency, kind of like a soft serve ice cream, if you will.
Okay. Well, I've learned a lot. What are the next best steps you have for us, Joyce? I mean, we're going to go to your website. You're going to provide us some of these recipes. What else? What else you got?
Yeah. So I actually have, to make this easier so you're not flopping around on the website trying to figure out where everything is, even though it's a very well-organized site. But just to make it easier for today, right down in the show notes, I've got a link for my smoothie recipe ebook for you. I've got a lot of ideas in there to keep you excited and keep you feeling creative and keep your morning meal well combined and help you to feel like you're not getting so gassy and bloated, and supporting you with learning how to properly nourish, continuing to detoxify and rejuvenate your body from the inside out.
Well, Joyce, thank you. And I'm sincere. I learned a lot with this episode, so hopefully others will too. This has been Just in Case and Joyce Rockwood sharing how to choose your best path to health. Thanks for joining us. Remember, free gifts and additional information and links are provided in the videos. Read more. Please be sure to subscribe to this channel to stay connected, and please connect with Joyce in the links below so you can learn some healthy revelations and how not to go bananas.